Yeah, this project is 3 custom designed letterpress prints that I designed that I'm making to help give back to the community. With this crisis going on right now, and with so many people, with their livelihoods basically put on hold, restaurants and shops, retail, all the small businesses that make our community so great. I wanted to figure out a way that I could give back, do something that's special that people would want to, hang up in their homes, donate some money, and hopefully raise something that I can, make a difference for everybody right now. Yeah, so far it's been going great. My expectations were to raise a little bit of money. I was hoping for maybe $1,000 or $2,000. So the fact that we're much past that is great. My only expectation was to just help. Anything past that is great. So I love that it's doing so well and that we're making money. I knew I wanted to create some prints for Takoma Park to begin with, as a project that was on the backlog of when I get time, I'm going to come up with some ideas, and this sort of just gave me the opportunity to do it now. So I knew that Roscoe the Rooster was popular here in Takoma Park, Azalea City, and that we're just a great, group of very diverse backgrounds, all creeds and cultures here in Takoma Park. So that's where the whole Takoma Park Together print that I came up with came to me. Basically, it starts with a sketch. I put it down on paper. I then bring it to my computer to start designing. So there's 2 ways to do letterpress. One is using metal typography and metal type. So that's what these drawers here are. This is one way to do it, is that every single individual letter comes on one piece of metal type. So it's very labor intensive. So you can create designs and lay out text using this old metal type. And this is also, hundreds of years old. Where I like to do it, and kind of my background, is in using digital tools. So I like the sort of juxtaposition of very old school technology with a printing press that's over a century old, and then new technology using Adobe Illustrator and the computer to come up with my designs. Once I create the idea, I then bring it onto the computer and I start designing. So I create iterations. I know I have a basic direction of where I want to go, but I sort of take it one step at a time, and it kind of changes, but I'll work on it for anywhere between an hour to a few hours to even longer, depending on the complexity of the design. Once I'm happy with it, I then create artwork that I send out to a plate maker, and they create a plastic plate. So they take the design and they put it on a polymer plate. It's basically plastic. It then etches out anywhere that you don't want it to be printed, to wash it out with a they use a light to burn it in. Anywhere that was exposed hardens, and that's where the design stays, and anywhere else that was not exposed can wash away with warm water. So it's actually raised, and that's how the design gets pressed and printed into the paper itself. I have to cut down the paper, and I have another 100-plus-year-old guillotine, which will cut through several inches of paper. I grew up with 2 brothers, and we were all very artistic. We would draw, paint, do sculpture, kind of come up with projects. So it was always kind of with us from an early age. And I went to the School of Visual Arts in New York City for a formalized education in graphic design. I did everything from branding, visual identity, packaging design, posters, things like that. And I've been doing that for years, and that's kind of that's what I do for my career as a day job in a marketing creative agency in DC. Letterpress printing is something that I've always been interested in. It's a really awesome old school technology that's been around 400 years. Back from the Gutenberg Bible is kind of one of the first times that this type of printing technology came into being, and it kind of fell out of favor in the 1950s, 1960s, when more affordable commercial printing technology came into place, offset printing. And a lot of these presses that I have behind me, they were scrapped for their weight in metal. So a lot of these have disappeared, but there are quite a few left. And now they're kind of a specialty type of printing. So you'll see them anywhere from really nice business cards, wedding invitations and stationery sets, things like that, where people want to have something that's really tactile and special. So the past few years I've been learning the technique of printing, realizing that I could be doing this myself. Instead of trying to sell it to clients and find a printer to do it, I thought I'd get my hands on it. Really enjoyed my first class and knew that this was something that I wanted to pursue, and that's just sort of where I've been going with it the past few years, and kind of just learning new things and figuring it out as I go. So here you can see the design that was put onto these polymer plates. I've adhered it to this base, which is a very specific height. It needs to be at 0.918 inches, which is considered type high. That way the rollers that carry the ink will hit it just right. And then this metal frame is called a chase, which fits right into the press. The form or the design goes on one side. The paper goes here. This is the platen. So every single sheet of paper actually gets fed into the press one at a time. It's very hand done, and you make all adjustments with the depth of the impression by putting more paper underneath your actual printed sheet. So you can get, a very light impression into the paper, or you could actually get much deeper. And what makes letterpress really cool is that you can get a really deep impression that you could see and actually feel in the paper itself. So the press that I have is a Platen Press. It kind of works like a clamshell, open and close, really simple. There's one side of it has the design, the other side has the paper. And this certain press, it's good at producing, multiples of 50, 100, 1,000 different prints at a time. So it's a workhorse. It weighs 1,500 pounds. It has a 10 by 15. That's the size of the platen where the paper sits. So we could do prints all the way up to 8 by 10, which is the size of the Takoma Park prints that I'm doing. I got this press actually up in Red Hook, Brooklyn. There is a site called Briar Press where I've been scouring the classifieds and found this one for sale. So it was a really fun and crazy weekend of driving up, renting a U-Haul, going into Manhattan, going through Brooklyn, picking this press up on a trailer, and then driving it all the way back here. I got it back here in one piece. So happy about that. I had been searching for maybe upwards of a year, just looking for the right one. I knew that I wanted a press similar to this one, a floor press, and had a certain price range in mind, and things would come up, and a lot of these are either in people's basements and they're rusting away, put in a back corner, 60 years ago, and never thought about again. This one happens to be in great shape, so I was really excited to find it. It's made of cast iron, and it's got gold pinstriping. So half of the appeal for me with Letterpress 2 is just the technology. This press is 130 years old, and it is still working just as well as it did when it was first made. It's really cool stuff. So this is where the plate starts to get inked up. So I usually do it, let it run over it once or twice, and then I'll pull this back, take the first print. So right now I'm looking for a few things. Again, want to make sure the alignment looks correct. Optically, I feel like it wants to move over slightly, and then I'm also just looking to make sure that the ink looks clean on all of the different the letter forms, that there's nothing bleeding out, that it's not over inked. Right now it looks a little under inked. You can see how it's a little bit paler in these larger letters, so I might want to put a little bit of extra ink on there, but otherwise that looks pretty good. With this whole letterpress endeavor, it's a passion project of mine, a little bit of a side hustle. It's been about 6 months where I sold my first few prints. Right now I'm doing custom art prints. I'm doing greeting cards, and I'm doing print for hire, basically for people who have business cards, stationery, or wedding invitations. And so that's all been great, and I'm just basically exploring more of the design of what I can do on there. So not so much the technology that I have. Since I have what I need, now it's really trying to figure out, how can I push the limits, and what type of different designs can I come up with. And the parts that I've enjoyed the most is creating these art prints that people hang up on the wall. It's really gratifying to have people connect with my artwork. As a commercial graphic designer, as my career, I'm usually working for clients and, kind of envisioning sort of their vision and trying to figure out where their business should go or what it should look like, and their strategy behind that. So it's really nice to create original artwork that, is mine and that people connect with, and kind of just want to go from there. My name of the Letterpress studio is No Plan Press, and it's basically no plan. I don't really know where it's going to head or where it's going to end up. I have ideas of where I would like it to go, but I'm kind of open to seeing where it takes me.